Marcus Chun adjusted his safety goggles and looked around the pristine white laboratory. 12 other species sat in carefully designed chairs that accommodated their various body types. The Zephyrian instructor, Professor Velik, stood at the front with 4 arms crossed, her purple skin gleaming under the lab's bright lights. Her warning about the Karathi Venom sample had just echoed through the room's translation system. "This is not a joke," Professor Velik continued, her voice carrying the weight of authority. "The Karathi death crawler's venom is one of the most lethal substances known to galactic science. A single drop can kill a fully grown Altarian in 3 seconds. Even our advanced medical nanobots cannot counteract its effects once it enters the bloodstream." Marcus raised his hand casually. "Professor, back on Earth, we have something similar. We call them bees. Their sting isn't quite that fast, but we deal with it regularly." The classroom fell silent. 18 alien eyes turned toward Marcus with expressions ranging from horror to disbelief. The Kronari student, whose species looked like walking crystals, actually made a sound that the translator interpreted as a gasp. "Human Chun," Professor Velik said slowly, "are you suggesting that your species regularly encounters creatures with lethal venom?" "Well, not just bees," Marcus replied, scratching his chin. "We've got wasps, hornets, some spiders, scorpions, snakes, jellyfish, cone snails, blue-ringed octopi, and a few dozen other things. Most people just avoid them or know basic first aid." The Altarian student, Crix, leaned forward with his mantis-like head tilted. "First aid? You have medical procedures for dealing with deadly venom?" "Sure. For bee stings, you just remove the stinger, apply some ice, maybe take an antihistamine. For snake bites, you get to a hospital quickly. Most people survive if they get treatment in time." Professor Velik's 4 hands began typing rapidly on her datapad. "Computer, access human homeworld biological data. Cross-reference with known venomous species." The room's holographic display activated, showing Earth's continents. Red dots began appearing across the map, thousands upon thousands of them, until the entire planet looked like it was covered in a red rash. "By the 7 moons," whispered the Deltaran student, whose tentacles had gone completely still, "your entire planet is covered in venomous creatures." Marcus looked at the display with mild interest. "That seems about right, though you might want to add more dots in Australia. And the rainforests. Oh, and the ocean should probably be more red than blue." Professor Velik's purple skin had turned a pale lavender. "Human Shun, according to this data, your species evolved alongside creatures whose venom could kill most galactic citizens instantly. How is this possible? Evolution, I guess. Our immune systems got pretty good at dealing with toxins. Plus, we learned to make anti-venom and develop treatments. My grandfather was a beekeeper back in Kansas. He got stung hundreds of times and just considered it part of the job." The Zephyrian professor set down her datapad with shaking hands. "Class dismissed. I need to contact the Galactic Medical Council immediately." As the other students filed out in shocked silence, Marcus lingered behind. "Professor, was there something wrong with my answer?" "Wrong?" Professor Velik looked at him with wide yellow eyes. "Human Shun, what you've just told us suggests that your species has natural resistance to toxins that would be instantly lethal to most of galactic civilization. This information could revolutionize medical science across 1,000 worlds." Marcus shrugged. "Huh. Well, if you need more information, my mom's a nurse. She once got bitten by a copperhead while gardening and finished planting her tomatoes before going to the hospital." Professor Velik made a note that translated as something between a prayer and a scientific hypothesis. The next morning, Marcus arrived at his xenobiology class to find it completely empty except for Professor Velik and 3 individuals he didn't recognize. They wore the silver and blue uniforms of the Galactic Medical Council. "Human Shun," Professor Velik said, "please meet Dr. Zask of the Medical Research Division, Commander Thilla from Biological Warfare Prevention, and Specialist Norvin from the Toxicology Department." Dr. Zask stepped forward, his reptilian features serious. "Mr. Chun, we've reviewed your statement from yesterday's class. We need to verify some information. Sure, no problem. You stated that your species regularly survives contact with multiple venomous creatures. Is this accurate? Marcus nodded. Yeah, it happens all the time. Last summer, my little sister got stung by a wasp while we were having a picnic. She cried for about 10 minutes, then went back to playing. Commander Thilla's fur stood on end. A juvenile of your species survived a venomous attack and continued normal activities? Well, yeah, it's just a wasp sting. Specialist Norvin consulted his tablet. According to our analysis, wasp venom contains compounds that would cause immediate respiratory failure in most species. The pain alone would incapacitate a chronari for several hours. Really? Marcus looked genuinely surprised. We give kids ice pops for wasp stings. Makes them feel better. Dr. Zask and his colleagues exchanged glances that needed no translation. Mr. Chen, Dr. Zask continued, would you be willing to participate in some medical tests? Purely voluntary, of course. We'd like to understand human toxin resistance better. I guess so, but I should mention that I'm probably not the best example. My buddy Jake back home, he's immune to poison ivy. Rolls around in it for fun. And my cousin Sarah works with venomous snakes at a research facility. She's been bitten 12 times. Bitten 12 times. Commander Thilla's voice went up an octave. Yeah, she's really good at her job, but accidents happen. She says the worst part is the paperwork afterward. Professor Velik was typing frantically again. Mr. Chun, exactly how many humans work with venomous creatures professionally? Marcus thought for a moment. Well, there are zookeepers, researchers, exterminators, beekeepers, snake milkers for anti-venom production, marine biologists who work with jellyfish and sea snakes, and probably a bunch of others. Oh, and Steve Irwin types, though there aren't many of those. Steve Irwin types? Specialist Norvin asked. Wildlife educators who handle dangerous animals for fun and education. Most people thought they were a little crazy, but in a good way. Dr. Zask sat down heavily. Your species is individuals who handle lethal creatures for entertainment. Educational entertainment. Marcus corrected. Though I guess some people do it just for the thrill. There's this thing called extreme hiking where people deliberately go to places with lots of dangerous animals. Deliberately? Commander Thilla's fur was now completely vertical. Yeah, like hiking through areas known for bears, wolves, venomous snakes, and aggressive insects. Some people pay extra for the experience. The three medical officials looked at each other, then at Professor Velik, then back at Marcus. Mr. Chun, Dr. Zask said carefully, we're going to need a much longer conversation, and possibly a direct communication link with your homeworld's medical authorities. Sure thing. They might want to talk to someone from Australia. They've got some really interesting stuff there. More interesting than what you've already described. Marcus grinned. Ever hear of a drop bear? Just kidding, those aren't real. But box jellyfish, blue-ringed octopi, taipan snakes, funnel web spiders, cone snails, stonefish, and about 50 other things that can kill you, those are totally real. All in one geographical region. Specialist Norvin's voice cracked. Yep, Australians are pretty tough. They have warning signs at some beaches that basically list 20 different ways the local wildlife can kill you, and people still go swimming. Professor Velik stood up abruptly. I need to contact the university chancellor. This information requires immediate escalation to the Galactic Council. Is everything okay? Marcus asked, genuinely concerned. Mr. Chun, Dr. Zask replied. Everything is about to change. Your species may hold the key to medical breakthroughs that could save billions of lives across the galaxy. The natural resistance to toxins that you consider normal could revolutionize how we treat poisonings, develop medications, and even approach biological warfare defense. Marcus scratched his head. Huh, my dad's gonna find this funny. He always said I'd never amount to anything just because I got stung by bees a lot as a kid. Commander Thilla made a sound that the translator couldn't quite interpret, somewhere between laughter and hysteria. Mr. Chun, Professor Velik said, I believe your father may need to revise that assessment. As the group prepared to leave for what would undoubtedly be the first of many meetings, Marcus pulled out his personal communicator to call home. He figured he should probably warn his family that their weekend might be interrupted by galactic medical researchers. After all, his mom was planning to work in her garden, and she'd be pretty annoyed if alien doctors showed up right when she was dealing with the local hornet's nest. Just another normal day for the Chun family, but apparently the most significant medical discovery in galactic history for everyone else. The irony wasn't lost on him that what his species considered ordinary pest control was about to reshape interstellar civilization. But first, he really needed to warn Professor Velik about fire ants. Those were definitely worth mentioning before she contacted Australia. 3 weeks after the initial meeting, Marcus found himself in the most advanced medical facility in the galaxy. The Galactic Medical Research Station orbited a neutral moon between 3 star systems, and its laboratories made the university's equipment look like stone tools. Dr. Zask had personally escorted him from Earth, along with a team of 12 human volunteers that included his cousin Sarah, 2 Australian marine biologists, a beekeeper from New Zealand, and, surprisingly, his neighbor Mrs. Patterson, who'd been recruited specifically because she was allergic to everything on Earth but had lived to age 73 anyway. The preliminary results are extraordinary, Dr. Zask announced to the assembled crowd of galactic medical experts. Representatives from 47 different species filled the observation deck, watching as Marcus sat calmly in the testing chamber. Human physiology demonstrates resistance to toxins that we previously thought were universally lethal. Marcus looked through the transparent wall at the audience. Are you sure this is safe? I mean, I'm okay with the venom and snake stuff, but that purple liquid looked pretty scary. That purple liquid, Dr. Zask replied through the intercom, is a diluted form of Karathi death crawler venom. We've administered a dose that would kill a Zephyrian in 2 seconds. How do you feel? Marcus considered this. A little itchy? Like when I eat too much shellfish. The observation deck erupted in excited chittering, chirping, and clicking sounds that the universal translator couldn't keep up with. A Deltaran scientist actually fainted, its tentacles going limp as colleagues caught it. Commander Thilla leaned into her communication device. Command, we need to upgrade Earth's defensive classification immediately. These humans aren't just resistant to biological warfare, they're practically immune. In another testing chamber, Sarah was having her own revelation. She'd volunteered to test various snake venoms, thinking her experience with earth serpents would be helpful. What she hadn't expected was the reaction of the alien medical staff when they learned about her work history. You milk venomous snakes for a living? Dr. Kent, a crystalline researcher, asked for the 3rd time. Yeah, we extract the venom to make anti-venom. It's a pretty standard job back home. Not super common, but not weird either. Standard. Dr. Kenta's crystal body flashed bright red. You voluntarily place yourself in contact with creatures whose toxins could eliminate entire space stations, and you consider this standard employment? Sarah shrugged. The pay's okay, and I like working with animals. Plus, the venom saves lives. We've got anti-venoms for most of our dangerous snakes, and some of those treatments work on other animals too. Other animals? Well, yeah. Some anti-venoms cross-react. Snakebite anti-venom sometimes helps with spider bites, stuff like that. We've been working on broad-spectrum treatments. Dr. Kenta's flashing intensified. Your species has developed treatments that work against multiple types of venom? Sure. It's basic medical science. You identify the common toxic compounds and develop antibodies that neutralize them. We've been doing it for decades. Meanwhile, in the 3rd testing chamber, the 2 Australian marine biologists were causing their own commotion. Dr. Kate Morrison and Dr. James Wu had volunteered thinking they'd be dealing with simple toxin tests. Instead, they found themselves explaining the daily reality of working in Earth's oceans. Box jellyfish, blue-ringed octopi, cone snails, sea snakes, stonefish, and dozens of other venomous marine creatures. Dr. Wu explained to a shocked audience of Aquarian researchers, whose species lived in water but had never encountered anything more dangerous than mildly aggressive algae. We swim with them regularly. Swim with them? Gurgled Dr. Title, whose translation came out watery, and panicked. Well, not with them exactly, Dr. Morrison clarified. We wore protective gear and maintained safe distances. But encounters happen. I've been stung by jellyfish probably 50 times. It hurts, but you learn to deal with it. 50 times. Dr. Title's aquatic suit began bubbling furiously. How are you alive? Vinegar helps with most jellyfish stings, Dr. Wu added helpfully. We keep bottles of it on all our research boats. For the really dangerous ones, we carry anti-venom and have radio contact with medical facilities. You carry anti-venom as standard equipment? Of course. It's basic safety protocol when working in dangerous waters. Like wearing a life jacket. Back in the main testing chamber, Mrs. Patterson was providing the most surprising data of all. At 73 years old, with allergies to everything from pollen to penicillin, she had somehow survived multiple encounters with things that should have killed her decades ago. Bee stings? She said to Dr. Yillick, a feathered researcher taking notes. Oh, honey, I swell up like a balloon, but I've got my EpiPen and I know what to do. Been stung probably 200 times in my garden over the years. 200 exposures to potentially fatal allergens. Well, fatal if I don't treat them right. But I do treat them right, so it's fine. I've got antihistamines, epinephrine, and I know when to call 911. Plus, my doctor says I might be building up some tolerance over time. Dr. Yillick's feathers had turned completely white. Building tolerance to lethal allergens through repeated exposure. That's what she thinks, anyway. I'm less reactive now than I was 20 years ago, though I still carry 3 EpiPens just in case. The lead researcher, Dr. Zask, found himself revising galactic medical textbooks in real time. Every assumption about toxin lethality, every protocol for biological hazard response, every defensive measure against venomous creatures was being turned upside down by these casual conversations with humans. Computer, compile all human toxin resistance data and project potential applications. He instructed the station's AI. The results filled every screen in the research center. Potential developments in anti-venom production, universal toxin treatments, improved medical emergency protocols, enhanced protective equipment, and defensive measures against biological weapons. The humans hadn't just survived in a toxic environment. They'd thrived and developed sophisticated methods for dealing with it. Dr. Zask, Marcus called from his testing chamber. How much longer is this going to take? I promised my girlfriend I'd call her tonight, and she gets worried when I'm late. Your girlfriend is concerned about your safety while you're participating in advanced medical research. Well, yeah, she knows I'm not the most careful person. Last month I got bit by a spider while cleaning the garage and didn't mention it for 3 days. She made me promise to actually tell medical professionals when something bites or stings me. Dr. Zask paused his note-taking. A spider bite that you didn't consider worth mentioning for 3 days? It wasn't a dangerous spider, just a regular house spider. Left a little red mark, went away on its own. Mr. Chun, we've analyzed your blood samples. You currently have antibodies for 17 different types of venom, including 3 that we've never seen before. Huh, I guess I get around. These antibodies represent natural immunity to toxins that could kill most galactic citizens. Your casual exposure to multiple venomous creatures has created a biological defense system that our most advanced medical technology cannot replicate. Marcus looked thoughtful. So what you're saying is that getting stung by bees as a kid was actually good for me. What we're saying, Mr. Chun, is that your childhood experiences may provide the foundation for medical advances that will save billions of lives across the galaxy. Cool. Wait until I tell my mom. She always said playing in the backyard would build character. Dr. Zask was beginning to understand that human concepts of danger, safety, and medical emergencies were fundamentally different from the rest of galactic civilization. What they considered normal childhood experiences would be classified as extreme biological hazard exposure by any other species. Mr. Chun, would you be willing to remain here for extended testing? We'd like to document your immune responses to various galactic toxins. Sure, as long as I can still call home. My family worries when they don't hear from me. Plus, my little sister wants me to bring back something cool from space. What would she consider cool? Marcus grinned. Probably a pet alien that's harmless to humans, but terrifying to everyone else. She's 8 and thinks dangerous animals are awesome. Dr. Zask made a note to add human children's affinity for dangerous creatures to his growing list of things that required investigation. Dr. Zask came a voice through the communication system. We're getting reports from Earth. The human governments want to know if we need any additional volunteers. Additional volunteers? Apparently, word has gotten out about the medical research. We've received applications from snake handlers, spider researchers, jellyfish specialists, and something called crocodile wrestlers. Marcus perked up. Oh, Steve's probably applied. He wrestles alligators for wildlife education shows. Great guy, very knowledgeable about reptile handling. Your species has individuals who physically wrestle with large predatory reptiles for educational purposes? Sure, it teaches people about wildlife conservation and shows that even dangerous animals can be understood and respected. Dr. Zask realized he was going to need a much larger research facility and possibly psychological counseling for himself because he was starting to find human risk assessment almost as fascinating as their toxin immunity. The galaxy was about to learn that humans didn't just survive in a dangerous world. They actively sought out danger for education, entertainment, and personal growth. This was going to require an entirely new branch of xenopsychology. 6 months after the initial discovery, the Galactic Medical Station had been expanded 3 times and renamed the Human Galactic Medical Research Center. What had started as a simple toxin-resistant study had evolved into the most significant medical revolution in galactic history. Marcus had become something of a celebrity, though he still couldn't understand why aliens kept staring at him when he casually mentioned getting stung by things. The research center now housed 47 human volunteers from around Earth, each selected for their unique exposure to dangerous creatures. There was Miguel from Costa Rica, who'd grown up in rainforests full of venomous frogs and snakes. Yuki from Japan, who specialized in studying deadly sea creatures. Priya from India, who worked with king cobras and Russell's vipers. And then there was Bobby from Florida, who'd been included specifically because he claimed to have been bitten by everything with teeth in the Everglades. Dr. Zask had been promoted to Director of Impossible Human Biology, a position created specifically for him after his mental breakdown tried to categorize human toxin resistance. He'd recovered nicely, though he still kept a stress ball shaped like a harmless Earth butterfly on his desk. Today's presentation covers our findings on human medical practices, DR. Zask announced to the largest gathering of galactic medical professionals ever assembled. What we've discovered challenges every assumption we've held about biological safety and emergency medicine. The main holographic display showed Earth, now coated in a rainbow of colors representing different types of biological hazards. The original red dots for venomous creatures have been joined by blue for bacterial dangers, green for viral threats, yellow for allergenic substances, purple for toxic plants, and orange for miscellaneous deadly things. The planet looked like a hazard map from a nightmare. Human medical science, Dr. Zask continued, has developed treatments for thousands of conditions that would be universally fatal to other species. They have medications for toxins we've never encountered, procedures for biological emergencies we've never imagined, and, most remarkably, they consider these treatments routine. Dr. Sarah Chun, Marcus's cousin, had been promoted to Chief Human Medical Consultant. She stood before the alien assembly with the same calm confidence she'd always shown when working with venomous snakes. The key to understanding human medicine is recognizing that we've had to adapt to constant biological threats. Every human culture has developed treatments for local dangers. She activated a display showing various human medical practices. Traditional Chinese medicine includes treatments for over 30 types of snake bite. Aboriginal Australians have remedies for funnel web spider bites and box jellyfish stings. Amazon tribes use plant-based antidotes for dozens of venomous creatures. Native Americans developed protocols for everything from rattlesnake bites to poisonous plant exposure. A coronary scientist in the audience asked. These treatments were developed by pre-technological civilizations? Yes, Sarah replied. Before we had modern hospitals or synthetic medications, humans survived using knowledge passed down through generations. We learned to identify dangerous creatures, recognize symptoms of poisoning, and apply effective treatments using available resources. Dr. Velik, Marcus's former professor, had also been recruited to the research team. She now specialized in human risk assessment psychology, trying to understand why humans voluntarily expose themselves to danger. What we've learned is that humans don't just tolerate biological threats. They actively study them, work with them, and in some cases, seek them out for recreational purposes. The audience shifted uncomfortably. The concept of recreational danger was still difficult for most species to understand. Allow me to introduce Bobby Martinez, Dr. Velik continued, a human from what they call Florida. Bobby walked onto the stage with a grin that immediately made several alien researchers nervous. He was wearing a t-shirt that read, "I survived everything Florida tried to kill me with," which the universal translator faithfully rendered in 47 different languages. "Hey there, aliens," Bobby said cheerfully. Dr. Velik asked me to talk about growing up in the Everglades. So basically, I've been bitten, stung, scratched, or poisoned by pretty much everything that lives in a swamp. Dr. Yilik's feathers turned pale. Could you be more specific? Sure. Alligators, water moccasins, coral snakes, rattlesnakes, copperheads, fire ants, hornets, wasps, yellow jackets, black widows, brown recluses, scorpions, centipedes, and a bunch of stuff I probably forgot. Oh, and I once touched a manchineel tree on a dare. A manchineel tree? Dr. Yilik consulted his data pad frantically. Yeah, they call it the tree of death. Pretty much every part of it is poisonous. Made my hands swell up for a week, but I was fine. My mom just made me soak it in Epsom salts and yelled at me for being stupid. The audience was silent except for the sound of Dr. Yilik's feathers falling out. The interesting thing about Bobby's case, Dr. Velik explained, is that he represents a type of human we've designated as extreme exposure specialists. These are humans who've had such extensive contact with dangerous creatures that they've developed resistance to multiple toxins simultaneously. Bobby nodded. My blood work is apparently pretty weird. But, hey, I've never been seriously hurt by any animal bite. Knocked around a bit by gators, sure, but never actually injured badly. Knocked around by alligators? Dr. Title's aquatic suit began bubbling again. Yeah, sometimes you gotta wrestle them when they get into places they shouldn't be. It's not a big deal if you know what you're doing. They're actually pretty predictable once you understand their behavior. Dr. Zask stepped forward. Bobby represents an extreme case, but he's not unique among humans. We've documented similar resistance patterns in researchers, wildlife specialists, and individuals who've lived in high-risk environments. The presentation continued with data that continued to shock the galactic medical community. Humans had developed resistance not just to venoms, but to bacterial infections, viral diseases, parasites, toxic plants, and environmental hazards that would be lethal to most species. The implications are staggering, Dr. Zask explained. Human blood contains antibodies to thousands of different threats. Their immune systems are essentially biological computers that have been programmed by millions of years of exposure to solve problems that other species never had to face. Dr. Morrison, one of the Australian marine biologists, took the stage next. What we'd like to show you now is something we call human adaptation in real time. She activated a video feed from Earth showing a group of humans at a beach in northern Australia. They were swimming in water that, according to the display, contained box jellyfish, blue-ringed octopi, sea snakes, and stonefish. Those humans are swimming in water that would kill most galactic citizens in minutes, Dr. Morrison explained. They're wearing protective suits, carrying emergency medical supplies, and have medical personnel standing by. But they're still voluntarily entering an environment filled with deadly creatures. Why? Asked a Deltaran researcher. Research, education, sometimes just for fun. The important thing is that they've made it safe through preparation, knowledge, and medical support. They've taken an environment that would be instantly lethal to unprepared visitors and made it accessible through human ingenuity. Marcus, watching from the audience, leaned over to whisper to Mrs. Patterson, who becomes something of a galactic celebrity for surviving 73 years of allergic reactions. They make it sound way more dramatic than it actually is. Mrs. Patterson chuckled. Honey, I don't think they understand that what we consider normal would be considered miraculous anywhere else in the galaxy. The final presentation of the day came from Dr. Priya Sharma, who'd been studying the intersection of human medicine and human psychology. What we've learned is that humans don't just survive biological threats. They've made survival into an art form. Every human culture has stories, legends, and traditions built around overcoming dangerous creatures and environments. She showed images of human mythology, folklore, and modern entertainment. Heroes battling monsters, stories of survival against impossible odds, movies and books where humans triumph over deadly creatures. These aren't just entertainment. They're cultural expressions of humanity's relationship with biological danger. A young Zephyrian researcher asked, "Are you suggesting that humans actually enjoy confronting deadly creatures?" Dr. Sharma smiled. Not exactly enjoy, but they certainly don't avoid them. Humans have made careers, hobbies, and art forms out of studying, working with, and even playing with creatures that other species would consider nightmarish. This explains so much about human behavior, Dr. Velik added. Their willingness to explore unknown worlds, to contact alien species, to venture into dangerous environments. It's all consistent with a species that evolved alongside constant biological threats. As the presentation ended, the assembled galactic medical community sat in stunned silence. The implications were enormous. Human medical knowledge could revolutionize treatment of biological warfare, improve emergency response protocols, and provide new approaches to toxin resistance across the galaxy. But perhaps more importantly, humans had shown that it was possible not just to survive in a dangerous universe, but to thrive in it. Every other known species had evolved on worlds that were relatively safe, where major biological threats were rare or manageable. Humans had evolved on a world that was actively trying to kill them at every opportunity, and they'd responded by developing medicine, technology, and cultural practices that turned survival into an achievable goal. The question before us now, Dr. Zas concluded, is what we do with this information. Human medical knowledge could save billions of lives across the galaxy. But more than that, human attitudes toward danger and risk might help other species explore and colonize worlds that we've previously considered too hazardous. Marcus raised his hand from the audience. Are you asking us to teach aliens how to not be afraid of scary animals? In the simplest terms, Mr. Chun, yes. Marcus grinned. Cool. My little sister is going to love this. She's been trying to convince our neighbors that spiders are actually pretty neat once you get to know them. Dr. Zask made a note to investigate human children's educational approaches to dangerous creatures. He had a feeling that was going to open up an entirely new field of research. 2 years after Marcus first shrugged off the Karathi Venom warning, the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The Human Galactic Medical Research Center had become the most important institution in known space, and its findings had revolutionized everything from planetary colonization to interspecies contact protocols. Marcus stood on the observation deck of the new research vessel Immune Response, watching as teams of mixed human and alien researchers prepared to investigate a previously unexplored world. Planet Zirian 7 had been classified as absolutely uninhabitable due to its population of creatures whose toxins were considered universally lethal. Today, it would become the first world to be reclassified thanks to human involvement. Final systems check complete, announced Captain Torres, a former park ranger from Yellowstone who'd been recruited specifically because she'd once treated her own bear mauling with a first aid kit and some duct tape. All teams report ready for surface operations. Dr. Zask, now sporting stress management meditation beads recommended by Mrs. Patterson, reviewed the mission parameters. Remember, we're not just studying Zirian 7's biology. We're testing new protocols for safe exploration of dangerous worlds. Every procedure we develop here could open up hundreds of previously inaccessible planets. The surface team included Bobby from Florida, who'd volunteered to test his immunity against alien venoms. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, whose experience with Earth's deadliest marine creatures made her perfect for studying Zirian's toxic amphibians. And, surprisingly, 8-year-old Emma Chun, Marcus's little sister, who'd insisted on coming along for educational purposes. Emma had become something of a sensation after her presentation to the Galactic Council titled, "Why Dangerous Animals Are Actually Pretty Cool If You're Not Stupid About It." Her simple, direct approach to biological safety had impressed alien diplomats who'd been struggling to understand human risk management for months. "Emma," Dr. Velik said through the communication system, "remember what we discussed about proper documentation." Emma, wearing a child-sized environmental suit covered in stickers of Earth's most venomous creatures, gave a thumbs up. "Don't pet anything until the biologists say it's okay. Take pictures of everything. And if something bites me, tell the doctors what it looked like before I start crying." The alien researchers had initially been horrified by the idea of bringing a human child on a dangerous mission. Then, Emma had demonstrated her knowledge of venomous creatures by correctly identifying 47 different Earth species and explaining appropriate first aid for each. The Galactic Ethics Committee had eventually approved her participation after recognizing that human children were apparently better educated about biological hazards than most adult aliens. "Surface team, you are cleared for descent," Captain Torres announced. "Remember, this is a collaborative mission. Humans provide toxin resistance and practical safety knowledge, while our galactic colleagues contribute advanced sensors and analytical equipment." The landing shuttle touched down on Zirian 7's purple sand beaches. Immediately, the sensors began registering biological signatures that would have sent any other species fleeing in terror. The atmosphere was filled with airborne toxins from carnivorous plants. The water teemed with creatures whose venom could kill most galactic citizens with a single touch. The very soil was home to insects whose bites caused immediate paralysis in anything that wasn't human. "Readings confirmed," announced Dr. Krill, the Altarian biologist whose species was notoriously vulnerable to toxins. "This planet contains at least 47 different types of lethal venom, plus airborne neurotoxins, contact poisons, and what appears to be toxic spores from the local fungi." Bobby stepped out of the shuttle, took a deep breath, and grinned. "Smells like home. Well, if home had more sulfur and fewer alligators." Emma bounced excitedly beside him. "Look at the colors." Marcus said alien poison things might be more colorful than Earth poison things. He was right. Dr. Yuki was already taking readings from the shoreline. "These amphibians are fascinating. Their toxin profile is similar to poison dart frogs, but about 50 times more concentrated. On Earth, this would be immediately lethal." "How do you feel?" Dr. Krill asked nervously. "Fine. A little tingly like when you handle cane toads, but nothing serious. I think humans can work with these safely as long as we follow basic precautions." The mission proceeded with efficiency that amazed the watching galactic observers. The humans moved through environments that should have killed them instantly, following the same careful protocols they developed for working with Earth's dangerous creatures. They documented species, collected samples, and established safe working procedures while the alien team members provided technological support from protective barriers. "This is incredible," Dr. Zask reported back to the research station. "The humans are not only surviving exposure to Zirian's biological hazards, they're actively studying them. We're collecting data that would have been impossible to gather using any other approach." Back on the research station, the implications were being felt across the galaxy. The successful Zirian mission was being broadcast to every civilized world, showing for the first time that dangerous planets could be explored safely with human assistance. Ambassador Krell of the Galactic Exploration Council was addressing an emergency session of the full council. Fellow beings, what we're witnessing changes everything we understand about planetary exploration. Humans have made the impossible possible. The question, interrupted Counselor Thess, is what we do with this capability. There are over 2,000 worlds that we've classified as too dangerous for exploration. If humans can safely study these environments, the scientific possibilities are unlimited, agreed Dr. Zenthal, representing the Galactic Scientific Institute. But we must also consider the strategic implications. Humans have essentially given us access to biological weapons research, toxin resistance development, and defensive capabilities we've never possessed. The debate was interrupted by a communication from the Xeria mission. Emma's voice came through clearly. Hey, council people, we found something really cool. There's this bug that's like super duper poisonous, but it makes this stuff that might be able to cure the crystal sickness that affects Chronari people. Dr. Krill thinks we could maybe make medicine from it. The council chamber fell silent. Crystal sickness was a degenerative condition that affected thousands of Chronari annually, with no known cure. Emma, Ambassador Krell said carefully, are you saying you've discovered a potential treatment for an incurable disease? Maybe. The bug juice is really toxic, but Bobby let one sting him, and he's totally fine. Dr. Yuki thinks if we can figure out how the toxin works, we might be able to make it help sick crystal people instead of hurting them. Dr. Zenthal was already accessing medical databases. If this is accurate, human toxin resistance might allow us to develop treatments using substances that we could never safely study before. The broader implications were staggering. Every deadly world in the galaxy was potentially a source of medical breakthroughs, scientific discoveries, and resources that had been completely inaccessible. Humans weren't just immune to biological threats. They were key to unlocking the secrets those threats contained. Council members, Ambassador Krell announced, I believe we need to formally recognize humanity as our partners in galactic exploration and medical research. Their unique capabilities make them invaluable allies. More than allies, Counselor Thess corrected. Humans may be the key to expanding civilization to worlds we've never dreamed of reaching. Back on Xerion 7, the surface team was wrapping up their first day of research. Emma had filled 3 data tablets with observations about local wildlife. Bobby had been stung, bitten, or touched by approximately 15 different venomous creatures with no ill effects. And Dr. Yuki had collected samples that could revolutionize xenobiology. How was your first alien planet? Marcus asked his sister through the communication link. It was awesome, Emma replied enthusiastically. The poison bugs here are way more interesting than Earth bugs, and I got to help Dr. Yuki catch a really pretty snake that could probably kill a whole spaceship full of aliens. But don't worry, I didn't touch it until she said it was okay. Marcus laughed. Did you remember to take pictures for show and tell? Like a million pictures. My teacher is going to flip when I tell her about the toxic mushrooms that glow in the dark. Oh, and Bobby says there might be stuff here that's even more dangerous than Australian animals. Can we come back and explore more? Dr. Zask, listening to the conversation, made a note to research human family dynamics and their apparent complete lack of normal fear responses. Dr. Zask, Captain Torres called, we're receiving priority communications from 17 different planetary governments. They all want to hire human teams to explore dangerous worlds in their systems. And from the Galactic Medical Council, added Dr. Velik, they want to establish human-staffed research outposts on every previously inaccessible toxic world. And from the Galactic Defense Force, Dr. Krill added nervously, they want to discuss biological warfare countermeasures. Dr. Zask looked out at the alien landscape, where humans were casually working alongside creatures that could kill most galactic citizens instantly, and realized that Marcus's simple comment about bee stings had accidentally made humanity the most strategically important species in the galaxy. Computer, send a message to Earth, he instructed. Tell them we're going to need a lot more volunteers, particularly anyone with experience in dangerous environments, emergency medicine, or unusual hobbies involving venomous creatures. Should I mention that they'll be pioneering the exploration of worlds considered uninhabitable by the rest of galactic civilization? The computer asked. Dr. Zask thought about human psychology and their inexplicable attraction to dangerous situations. Actually, lead with that. I think they'll consider it a selling point. As the immune response prepared for its next mission to an even more dangerous world, Marcus reflected on how much his life had changed since that first day in xenobiology class. He'd gone from being a college student who occasionally got stung by bees to being humanity's unofficial ambassador to a galaxy full of creatures that could kill most aliens instantly. But honestly, it wasn't that different from growing up in rural Kansas, where you learned to deal with wasps, snakes, and the occasional aggressive farm animal. The only real difference was that now, when he got stung by something, it might revolutionize medicine for an entire civilization. Just another day in the life of humanity's least likely heroes. The people who'd learned to live with danger so well that they'd accidentally become the galaxy's best hope for exploring the impossible.